So thanks a lot for joining, Baliga. By the way, what is this? What is this face decoration that you have?
It's just getting old, man. So need ways of covering up my face.
Okay. So I am also getting old, Baliga. I am at the same age as that you are, maybe a little more. What do you think I should do to cover my face?
You don't need to do anything. The government has asked you to wear masks. So,
Ah, the face mask.
yep.
Nice, nice. Good. That's a great way to start a very serious topic that we have to discuss, Baliga. So, to everyone who is out there, who is listening, who is going to listen, this is a weekly session that we have with some of those people who have got experience of being an entrepreneur, being in a position where they manage people and who have kind of got concerned about the future of remote work or future of work and kind of share their experience on how things will pan out over the next few months, few years, because of the kind of things that we are actually getting exposed to right now. Cool. So before we get into it, requesting Baliga to give a brief introduction about what he is, what he has done, and what is the plans that he has as far as his background and the career futures and all that is concerned. Baliga, please.
So personally, yeah, I mean, I've been all my life in Bangalore. So studied here, now working here for all these years. Um, so now married here with two kids. Professionally graduated electronics and communication long back. Worked for a couple of years in IT, post which we were classmates at SPGen. Um, yeah. So then again went back to IT for a couple of years, and since for like 10 years now, I've joined a family business. So we are in processing. We process steel for automotive OEMs, general engineering companies, so on and so forth. So some of our customers are TVS and their tier ones, or Toyota and their tier ones, Schneider and their tier ones, so on and so forth. So here mainly in charge of operations and look into finance as well. So those are the primary areas that I manage here.
Okay, so that's an interesting thing. With an electronics and communication background, your destiny was to end up with a shop floor with a couple of machines. So how was that journey been, and what made you to take that decision to move into manufacturing from a different
Uh,
field?
yeah, so the decision was not, I mean, it was not driven by the fact that we were in manufacturing. The decision was largely that I felt like I wanted to do something on my own or in business. So this was just the path of least resistance and an easy way out, where there was already a setup where I could do things rather than take the tougher path like like someone like you did. So
Great,
that was the means of, I mean, that was the basis of the decision.
great, true. So I think what you said is very relevant from an entrepreneur's standpoint. I think it's all about the journey, like people say, and
Hmm.
regardless of the space that you belong to.
Hmm.
Finally, if you do things and if you love doing things what you're doing every day,
Hmm.
you will have a lot more fruitful life of being an entrepreneur. And the fact that I know about you, that you wake up in the morning and you run to your machine shop by 8 o'clock,
Hmm.
and you do it every day,
Yeah.
and you do it every day, including Saturdays,
Hmm.
is not a small thing, and that pretty much depicts the amount of passion and love that you have for the work that you're doing.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that's all about it. If you do stuff and
Yeah.
if you love doing it today, don't really too much worry about the space, what you studied and stuff like that. But it's all about enjoying it.
Hmm.
But that takes us to another significant part of the next set of questions that we have for you. For example, the times that we are right now, the pandemic times that we have right now, the COVID-19 impact it has made on the economy, on the industry,
Hmm.
and you belonging to manufacturing space where touch and feel is very important.
Hmm.
How do you think COVID-19 specifically has impacted your space, manufacturing, and how is it going to be panning out?
So if you look at the short term, the impact is huge on the business because I mean things don't happen and things don't move if we are not on the shop floor or if someone's not driving the goods around and so on and so forth. So the lockdown was meant zero revenues for us, though there were outflows of your finance charges or your salaries and so on and so forth. So that way the impact was huge in terms of business. So once then again, once we had to open up post lockdown, which was which was on May 4th. So I mean, your whole protocol of working, your
Okay.
whole sorry.
That changed. The protocol changed.
Yeah, absolutely. But before from shop floor kind point of view, the focus was on safety and quality, and then productivity. So
Yeah.
now, so now those three were there, but on top of the pile, you had health and hygiene,
Yeah.
which was important. So, making everyone aware. I mean, it's not like people weren't aware or people weren't educated about, but you just have to keep driving in the point of, maintaining your distance, wear your
Yeah.
mask at all times, sanitize, wash your hands, so on and so forth. And then to ensure that everyone feels safe, if people are not going to feel safe coming into work or working or uh, then it's going to be a scary place to be or a counterproductive activity coming to work. So those were the challenges starting up.
So if I heard it right, you mentioned that your revenues were literally stopped, or you had kind of
Yeah, yeah.
pretty much
So
no revenue.
March 23rd to yes, March 23rd to May 4th, it was it's zero.
Okay, and you sustained with everything that you had as is. You didn't lay off people, you know.
No, thankfully not. But on the other side, so the aspect that I probably should have also covered on is a lot of people didn't come back. So
Okay, they
didn't
didn't
come
come
back
back
to
after
yeah,
after the pandemic was done. Okay.
yes.
Why was that?
And
Why do you think they didn't
sorry,
come back?
sorry.
Why do you think they didn't come back?
So they're not feeling safe, the same
Okay.
thing. So a lot of I don't know if I can call it panic or they're just not comfortable or whatever it is. They had their own reason, or some people just felt that also a month gives you time to ponder over life, like all of us probably did. If things are worth it, or cost benefit analysis, or however they look at it, and they just a lot of people just didn't. Just decided not to come back to work. So
Okay.
we were, only 75% of people came back. That is not on day one. So over a span of say 3 weeks, and even now, we only have 75% people back.
So do you think
Uh,
they'll come back? The rest of 25% will they come back to work?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
So I think they will come back to work if so there is a general there is going to be a shortage of supply of labor from here on, till at least say a quarter or two. Uh, so even just Bangalore, where I am, is there has been a lockdown since Tuesday. So the weekend preceding that, there was a huge outflow of people going out again. So there is a shortage of labor,
Yeah.
and at some point when business picks up, we people will have to start paying more.
More.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if salaries increase where they feel that now it makes sense to come back,
Or to take
then
a
they
risk.
will. Yes, they will. They will.
Yeah.
Again, anecdotal evidence, but surrounding areas of my factory, there are hundreds of houses where with to-let signs.
Okay.
So people have vacated lock, stock, and barrel and left.
Got it. So that pretty much also indicates that most of your people were immigrants. So
Yeah, immigrants in the sense that immigrants from most, not most, yeah, most of them were immigrants from neighboring towns around Bangalore.
Okay.
Yeah, so surprisingly, we have two people from Orissa who stayed back,
Okay.
but most of them are from around Bangalore who left. So people who are middle-aged and above, who have uh, families with kids going to school probably in higher classes or colleges where that if I can, if the switching cost is higher, they've stayed back.
Got it. Got it. So people with lesser or weaker roots in Bangalore had
Yes.
taken a decision to take a break maybe, and they would probably decide to come back after a few months.
Yes,
Now
that's what it looks like. Yeah.
that leads to the next question, where uh, the market is highly concerned about the longevity of the virus, which includes the questions around the chances of we finding a vaccination, uh,
Hmm.
and versus the chances of the virus mutating by itself,
Hmm.
which makes a vaccine just as powerful as, let's say, a Davos Chyawanprash. It doesn't really give you so much of immunity, because by the time you got the vaccination, uh, the virus mutated. So what is the chance of uh, we discovering something which becomes a long-term solution, wherein we are conclusively saying, like, at the end of December, at the end of 2020, or let's say 1.5 years time down the line, we have a decent time ahead when it comes to the economy is concerned. So what do you think is the future of the space called manufacturing when it comes to the labor shortage that you explained,
Hmm.
the demand uptake, or the recession sort of thing that's lined up,
Hmm.
and the prices going up, or the demand versus supply creating a new market altogether, a new trend in the market altogether. What do you think is lined up ahead of us?
So the economy is well, I don't know. I mean, so I've been listening to a lot of interviews, and everyone has a wide range of guesses. So I don't know. I mean, it looks like everyone's good guess is good as the next person's. So I don't know about the economy, but yeah. We dealt a lot with the automotive companies, which was not going through a good phase even before this hit us. Or in general, the real economy of India was not doing great even before this hit us. Um, so it's hard to predict. So I mean, how I see it is, when we started on May 4th, for the first first two odd months, we were on a day-to-day kind of basis. How is today looking? Okay, so that's all our vision was limited to, because there was that amount of unpredictability. Or so now we have moved to how does the next week look. So that will move on to next 2 weeks look and next month look. I mean, predicting anything or making any sort of plans based on how the economy is going to look is, I don't know, it doesn't make much sense to me right now. How things are going to change for manufacturing. Okay, so we are an SME, and with the labor shortage coming up, is we are going to move more into automation.
Okay.
That's, I think, much given. So we'll have to look at activities which are low hanging fruit, and where we can immediately reduce labor or substitute labor.
One
Uh,
one question there.
yeah.
So you said that the labor shortage is a reality right now,
Hmm.
and you have plans to go ahead with more automation,
Hmm.
which will solve your supply side problem when it comes to labor.
Hmm.
But what if the consumption itself is not picking up? If the demand side also you face a challenge,
Yeah.
do you
So
think
that's,
it's a good idea to invest heavily into the automation, the machines, and
yeah.
run out of cash
Hmm.
and reach a stage wherein you can't capitalize on either of them.
Absolutely, I get your point. So your investment is as per your risk taking ability. So we are investing. So I said we are investing on low hanging fruit right now. So it's not the capex there is not too much. So we are limiting our risk that side. So we had plans of going on for machinery which are much larger outlay, which is just shelved indefinitely right now. So smaller things where we can just substitute one or two labor at the short in the short term.
Okay.
So that kind of things we are going for. So yeah, cash is of primary importance right now. So a penny saved is like I don't know, a dollar earned right now. So
I have a very controversial question to ask you now.
please go on.
You can ask me to shut up if you don't want to take the question. So
Yeah.
the question is, you mentioned about cash. The last line what you mentioned was about cash. A very weird question, at least for some people out there in the market or in the country. Do you think having cash in the account is a safe thing to do, or having cash in the account is having cash in your account or in your at your home is an idea by itself? Do you think there'll be a situation in the future where, let's say,
Banks,
the administration comes out and says that okay, start paying 3 times of what you're paying right now in terms of tax?
See, yes, it's a possibility, but then again, okay, there are two parts to my answer. One is that again, in terms of having cash, you diversify also how you have cash.
Okay.
So cash in the bank, cash in some sort of deposits, cash in some other monetary instrument. So that there is a that kind of reduces the credit risk in case there is a run on the banks, kind of thing.
Okay.
See, the government saying pay 3 times more than what you're paying today is a risk at any point of time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it is will they do it right now? I think it's highly improbable that they will put any more stress on SMEs, because in terms of giving employment, SMEs are one of the largest employment providers,
True.
and they know that they are in a lot of stress, which is why they had that they've rolled out some credit lines, etc., to SMEs. So to ask SMEs to give more tax, I think it's highly improbable right now.
So where do you keep your cash? Where do you keep all your cash? Do you have enough space at home to keep all your? Huh?
When I said cash, I meant in the bank, or I pay all tax. We pay all taxes, Biju. So there's no point of keeping it under my mattress.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean that also ensures I have a good night's sleep, pun intended. So yeah.
No, I really didn't expect an answer from you. I thought you'll ask me to shut up, but it's okay.
No. Yeah. So far I have nothing to hide, and I don't earn that kind of money. So yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So Bangalore is a place where a lot of raids are happening. So I think we should be honest in telling all my money lies in a bank.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have another topic. Another not really topic, but kind of evolution of what we have been talking right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about jobs. It's more about jobs. It's more about the way people work. Okay. The question is, I was actually under the impression, or I had a premise which says, based on which Andromot was built fundamentally, that over a period of 5 years to 10 years, we would reach a stage where we would evolve as a market. I'm talking about the job market. I'm talking about the workers market. Would evolve to be in a situation there where they pick up small assignments. I would say gig assignments. They do, let's say, one work at a time, enjoy doing that work, focus on the time they spent in an office, but they take up small assignments of, let's say, sometimes even parallel 2-3 assignments, finish them, get the payment, and be happy about the amount that they got, decide to spend 1 month on a break, let's say they go for a holiday, and when they wake up on 31st day, they realize that the bank account is empty right now. I need another 10K to survive this month. And you go and take up another set of jobs and keep going. So where the job will get more and more remote.
Mm.
The workers will move from tier one, tier two cities to tier three cities maybe.
Mm.
People would spend more time with the families
Mm.
or with their passionate areas, and the assignments would be more and more gig based,
Mm.
and the companies would spend a lot lesser compared to spending, let's say, a couple of lakhs per month for an employee for a full time role over a period of 1 year to do, let's say, 20% of the time on the work, all of those things. So
Mm.
end of the day, if you have the availability of both the task and the labor on a same platform, you may reach that point. But I thought it's going to take 5 years, 10 years.
Mm.
With the pandemic in place, how do you
Mm.
think the dynamics of the job market or finding jobs or
Mm.
the connection between employee and employer will actually pan out?
Mm. So, how do I put it?
Specific
Uh,
to manufacturing. Specific to manufacturing.
Specific to manufacturing.
Or you want to make it knowledge workers, that's fine.
Yeah. See, in terms of manufacturing, having the percentage of gig work is really small because
Yeah,
manufacturing depends on consistency.
correct. Yeah,
Having good operations. So I can't have people who I mean, people go on holidays for 1 month anyway here, but I can't. You can't. You have to have that kind of predictability.
yeah.
So at least in my core function, I don't see that happening. But
Knowledge work.
knowledge work. So this is our history that we have to. We've gone too long into our conversation without disagreeing. So not that the future of unremote depends on my opinion, but I don't think you're going to like my opinion too much. So I think that post pandemic, so there are two aspects to again to what you asked. I think gig work is going to reduce. That is also because so the so this feeling, okay, for example, also again anecdotally, but this is what I have seen also, is once this pandemic hit and there was that first lockdown, the first wave of job losses happened with contractors and gig workers.
Yeah.
So I think that in terms of gig work, people are going to uh, want more security for some time. Gig work also does not provide you insurance and stuff like that, which some people might feel is important from here on forth. So I think we will probably see a slight decline in gig work. I think gig work will happen with people who are at the top of their job.
Okay.
So, so they know that I am very good. If once this project is there are three other people lined up to give me my next project. So I think gig work will be limited to the people who are at the top of their game and want this kind of lifestyle. But people who want, I think more, at least for some time now, people will want more security, so they might want to get regular employment. Having said that, I think I agree with you that remote working is, so people have seen even my wife's example, she's been working from home since March 7th. So people have seen, so she's they've had go lives, they've had presentations, they've had meetings, they've had all kinds of things, and things have gone fine. So I think people will continue. They see merit in remote work,
Yeah.
and that trend will continue. To what extent and how much people adapt it is something to be seen, and that model has to mature. So I also a lot of
Let me let me ask another question related to that, Balika.
Mhm.
Uh, who do you think is a decision maker out there? Or what's the trigger for a shift in this sort of a cultural change? Is it the employee who would push for a change to have more and more remote work, or the employer who takes a decision to shift majority of their workforce to remote because they have a cost savings when it comes to real estate, administration, employee management, and
Yeah.
stuff like that? Who's going to decide that?
Yes.
There's a decision.
So I think I think that you know uh, there might I. there might be a decision just top down, that cut your real estate cost by 20%. And then the managers down below have to just figure out that, okay, I used to have 50 seats, I have to just manage with 40 seats. Now I have to figure out what can be done remote, or how I can rotate, or how that's going to work out. So I think that kind of mandate will,
I, I have I have
might
an
be a
interesting
good trigger.
I have an interesting thing coming to my mind when you said about the word top down. So there is this
Mm-hmm.
book by Matt Ridley. The other day we were talking about it.
Yeah,
The
yeah, yeah.
name of the book is Evolution of Everything. In that,
Mm-hmm.
he talks about the way things evolve. And this is a sort of evolution which happens in the workplace where you go more and more remote. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
let's say 300 years of legacy that we have in working within
Mm-hmm.
factories, but now we are slowly changing. And that evolution is something which is unstoppable. If it's happening, it's happening. And in that book, with all of those, proof and evidences from the history, it
Mm-hmm.
says that none of those things, when it evolves, it's
Mm-hmm.
top down. It's always bottoms up.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay.
So if it's
Yeah.
evolution, it's going to be bottoms up. So that's the reason I mean, I didn't have this in mind while asking the
Yeah.
question.
No, but see, the thing is that the trigger has already happened. I don't know if it's bottom up
Externally.
or, yeah, it's an extraneous circumstance and it's happened. But from here on, it could happen top down, or you can have have a situation where your best talent is either a new mother who needs to spend more, a new parent, sorry, who needs to spend more time at home, or just doesn't want to leave his hometown for because he wants to take care of his parents, or just is in love with Dharamshala and doesn't wants to work out only out of Dharamshala, and then you're as a manager you will have to negotiate. At least that is a base, that is, we can have a conversation about it from here on.
Yeah.
But I guess earlier that was not even a
Yeah. So at
a
least
topic of discussion.
now we know that if the question was about productivity when it comes to remote work,
Yeah.
when it comes to the knowledge work, that question is answered right now with all the proof.
Yeah, for most jobs, I guess.
Yeah,
For
most
most
jobs.
jobs,
Yeah, in
for most
most
jobs.
jobs, correct. Right. So thanks
Hmm.
for that, Balila. Now the next part is about the role of technology. So in getting all of these things in place, what do you think is the role of technology? And that takes us to the last part of it where we talk about how a platform like Unremote
Hmm.
and many other platforms like that can help when it comes to enabling remote work. So two
Hmm.
questions I would say. One, what's the role of technology in enabling remote work? Assuming that the productivity is not lost,
Hmm.
um, and assuming that the evolution is already in place.
Hmm.
Two, uh, how do you think platforms like Unremote
Hmm.
can, one, enable such kind of a change, two, leverage the change to drive more adoption, to drive more
Hmm.
user traction and stuff like that. So it's more of a takeaway for a person like me to learn about how you take the industry and how you think we should be placed ourselves in getting things rolled out.
Yeah. So, I mean, remote work is impossible without technology. So that's a given. But again, there are two aspects. One is the infrastructure part of it, where I don't know if we are up to the mark.
Okay. Like
Uh,
what? Which infrastructure you're talking? The physical ones or
yeah, in terms of bandwidth. Say,
bandwidth? Okay.
say in terms of bandwidth, or
What sort of bandwidth you are right now? You are at home. Bandwidth.
no, I'm at work.
You're at
So
home. Okay.
yeah, so we are on a fiber network.
Okay. Okay.
We
So
just
that,
upgraded recently.
yeah. So that
So
should be good. That should be
that,
good.
that should be good. But you know, so for example, when online classes started, so you had these pictures of. I won't go into the drastic cases, but you had pictures of kids sitting on roofs, or having to walk 2 kilometers to get network
Yeah.
coverage
Yeah.
to have their online classes. So bandwidth or network coverage, that still I think we have some way to go. Uh,
Okay.
and it's possible that someone like a Google who's already tied. I don't know what they call their project, but the internet through their balloons and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that's something that can
Internet for everyone or something like that, right? Internet
yeah,
for
yeah.
Google, Facebook, and in India, Airtel was part of that network. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
No. That was. I think that was. Are you talking about the net neutrality, free basics?
yeah, yeah,
No, I'm not talking about free basics. So
yeah,
I'm talking about where Google sends out balloons, and I hope I have not read some fake news somewhere, but they send out balloons, and that is acts like a router, and you get
yeah, yeah.
your network from that. So if that is not in place, no matter how good your software is, it's
Yeah.
not going to work. So that infrastructure, we have some way to go, and
So there
hopefully.
is one news, one update which I heard
Mm,
was that some of the CXOs, some of the CTOs,
mm,
of very large corporations,
mm,
they have come out in public and
mm,
they mentioned that you know the roadmap what they had for the infrastructure upgradation,
mhm,
which was planned to be done over next to 2 to 3 years time,
mm, mm,
have
mm.
got compressed into 2 months time,
Correct.
which
Correct.
largely focuses on the bandwidth.
Ah.
Okay, so that comes to the point. Maybe so necessity is the mother of father also. Of
Mm,
all the inventions.
mm,
So we may actually be heading towards a situation wherein we may see a double up speed for a 5G adoption. Maybe
mm,
we may start seeing a lot of balloon-like infrastructure coming up to the rural areas of India and pretty much everywhere in the world.
mm,
And we may see, which is evidently seen for the last 2 months' time that we've seen with, let's say, a Geo-like platform wherein they garner a lot of investment.
mm,
I think their major focus is actually going to be on capitalizing on data which is lying in rural parts of India.
mm, mm.
So, do you think that's going to happen and solve this problem of bandwidth specifically?
I hope so. I mean, for a young country like ours, if you can get internet in every corner of the country, it's it has the possibility of huge change for us, or a huge impact for us. It's equivalent to having roads in every village, or
Exactly.
having electricity in every village. So even having
Exactly.
it
True.
is going to help us and have a huge impact on us. So
Yeah.
I surely hope so that this infrastructure is put in place.
Cool. Yeah.
So also, like, the second part of your question was about how platforms like such
Yeah.
as yours help.
Yeah.
Um, uh, I mean, of course, it helps, but I think there are still lots of gaps in the sense that, see, if this conversation would have been a lot more fun and intimate if we were, face to face,
Yeah.
sitting, having this over a cup of coffee or a mug of beer or whatever. Uh, so there are a lot of your body language and
Yeah.
stuff like that. I don't completely read, or uh, so that is supposedly adds to the stress of online conversations, or the comfort, like we were speaking earlier. What can a platform like yours do to improve the comfort between the manager and his report?
Yeah.
To say that a manager is confident enough to say that, okay, you work remote, you don't need to come to office, I'm
Yeah.
fine, no, I can, this platform is going to help me take care of everything.
True.
So the tools are there. So your platform, or any such platform, has put out the tools, but how are we going to go to the next level to make people feel more comfortable? Or I don't know if just over a matter of time we're going to get used to it and say, yeah, this is how things work, this is how we have to do,
Yeah.
and we just deal with it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so
So one is about what you said is right. One is about the habit part of it. If you're exposed to this kind of a
yeah.
new way of working for longer enough time,
Hmm.
we may reach a point wherein we forget the past and settle on with what we have right now. We may. I'm not saying we will. I'm saying we may. Number one. Number two, you know, very critical thing what you said, and we are also sensitized about it in a significant manner, more, and that's about the people part of it. Human beings are fundamentally emotional, and they need that touch and feel to be able to go to office and meet people, have that cafeteria conversation.
So we thought the same thing about buying clothes as well, right? You need to feel the fabric, you need to try it out. I mean,
so
that's changed. And
yeah, that's right. That's right. So basically, the fact that you travel 1 hour and then reach office is not really to work. It's also, it's not really only for work. It's also to have the other part of the life, which is more about a social connect. As a human being, you have that emotional need of being connected, being collaborated with people face to face. But so I agree that, okay. But going back to something what you said, imagine this conversation that we have was face to face, personally face to face, having fun face to face, maybe over a beer, okay, and having a lot of heated conversations as well, which gets into heated arguments and wherein you're on the verge of giving a slap on my face, still, but imagine we do all that, but all of that is not available for a major part of the world, so except you and me, others are not having fun of it. Even if you give me a slap, others don't get to see that you have given a slap to me, right? So I'm just coming to the point, there are some advantages of probably having a balancing act where leverage technology and do stuff like this, collaborate at work. But let's say have a hybrid version saying that once in a week, once in 2 weeks, you meet everyone in a co-working space, for example, and have that social connect. By the at the same time, avoid the 3-4 hours of travel in a city like Bangalore, maybe. Do you think that makes sense? Do you think that will actually have a future?
Yeah, I think something like that will probably make a lot more.
Okay.
It will a lot. At least it will enable the transition.
Got it. Got it. Cool, Baliga. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you so much for spending your 35, 40 odd minutes. And it was great catching up. So the beautiful thing is that now I realize that all of those conversations that we have on phone, okay, are potentially recordable. Because
I think we'll have to filter out a lot of my language.
I think what we miss here is that language. I think we should have little.
We have an 18+ label and have a next discussion with that.
Yeah. So I hope we continue to have such kind of intimate conversations which can be recorded. Thank you so much, Baliga. Thank you so much for the time and sharing the views that you have. I really hope that we transition ourselves to a better tomorrow. Soon. When it comes to the overall peace in place for different people working in different spaces, be it manufacturing or retail or knowledge work, India, US, UK, Europe, Africa, Asia, wherever, let's assume that we're going to be in a good place soon. Thank you so much for the time that you have spent with Undermount.
Thanks. Yeah.